What's up, everybody? I am back with another TV show spoiler review, and I'll be covering season 1 of 2004 TV series The Batman. Before I continue, please do me a huge favor. Yesterday, Rachel Manika just gave me a follow. Thank you for that. And follow me on links in the description below, like my Twitter, YouTube, Twitch, TikTok, Instagram, all that stuff. Find the links in the description below. And let me know what you guys think of, recent content. Like I just put out, which is blowing up, my ranking of all, at least a lot of Batman Rogues Gallery. And after I finished with season 1 of The Batman, I was like, dang, like I forgot about a couple of ones I probably should have put on the list, like Hardak, Ragdoll, Equinox, was on Batman Brave and the Bold. I should have put these guys on the list and completely spaced on those guys. But I put in a significant amount, so as I said in that video, it's like there's a few that I had to, I might forgot, and some I've had to purposely leave out, like Harley Quinn and Catwoman, because they're more so anti-heroes, so I can't really count them as his Rogues Gallery anymore. But if I would have put maybe Hardak on, A tier, Equinox S tier, because he was really good, and Ragdoll B tier. That was probably would have put it there. I want to make some adjustments in a little bit, and probably post it on like a small little video for my YouTube, so you guys can check that out later, because I completely spaced on a lot of villains that was really good. Any case, The Batman, which not a lot of people really like. I'm pretty sure there's a fair amount of people who remember this show, but this show is really good. The animation style is like very reminiscent, or is kind of reminds me of Jackie Chan Adventures with certain jaggedy features, but slightly upgraded. Because if you remember the Jackie Chan Adventures cartoon, if you look at like the background, there's colors that seem like slightly off from like the borders where you're supposed to color in the lines, kind of thing. They always seem slightly off, but this show seems to take that, and with newer technology, even though I think they would have came around the same time on Kids WB, it's slightly upgraded, from there. That's what it reminds me of. I could be wrong. But the voice actors involved are really good. We got a couple of new people that I, wish they would have brought into the main comic books, because they're really good and could have, earned just like with the original TAS, they have earned a spot to be part of like the main continuity of Batman's supporting cast. We got we'll go through a lot of these guys here. We got Reno Romano, who plays Bruce Wayne Batman. Alistair Duncan, who voices Alfred Pennyworth, which I think he's up there in terms of my favorite vocal performance of Alfred, in all honesty. Edward James Olmos as Chief Angel Rojas, but then later Jesse Cortez. We got Stephen Harris, who voices Ethan Bennett, which he has an amazing arc as well. We got Ming-Na Wen as Ellen Yin. Two of them are parties in the Gotham PD. Uh, we got Adam West, who shows up a couple of times as the mayor of Gotham, Mayor um, Grange. Uh, we got Kevin Michael Richardson, who voices Joker, which honestly, I was shocked how well he done in his portrayal of the Joker. And the design of this particular Joker is very, very good, where it's just like the big teeth and like his, like long sleeves that kind of dangle, and he's always barefoot. Uh, oh, and the puns in this is hella puns in this show, and it's crazy how it's kind of like watching like a James Bond movie where all these just random puns just shows up. It's really unique in that way. I don't think many people point out that it's very pun heavy in this show. You think it's all just with like maybe like something like Mr. Freeze or something like that, but no, like almost in every episode there's some kind of pun that needs to be made. But with like, we got, I call it dreadlocks with the Joker, but it's not like the stereotypical dreadlocks. It's like still big and poofy where you can't even tell they're kind of locks, but you can kind of get away with being locks in some capacity. But the design of this Joker is very, very good. I really enjoy it. We got Tom Kenny, SpongeBob himself, playing as the Penguin, and I love this interpretation of the Penguin. It's like, I say third favorite interpretation of the Penguin. My first one being Danny DeVito in Batman Returns. Second one is the Batman the Animated Series versions of the Penguin, early seasons, not like the later Batman and Robin stuff. And then this Tom Kenny's versions of the Penguin is my favorite one. As a matter of fact, it's so high because he really leans in the whole bird theme, where it's like tweet tweet. It's like he does the penguin voice. It's like, I love it when the Penguin leans into it. He's even got the little flipper thing. It's just like, I want my Penguin to. That's why I didn't care for the Batman Robin series version of the Penguin, where they kind of nix the bird theme and lean into just like a short, regular guy that looks like in a penguin suit. It's like, no. It's like, I like when they lean into the whole flipper bird theme of the Penguin. It's very fun. It makes them unique. But it's like, God, Tom Kenny's version of the Penguin is very high tier for me. And he does his own thing. What makes him, this particular Penguin, unique from the others, that he's actually got hand-to-hand skills. His first introduction, he talks about how he spent time in the Orient, so he learned how to fight. And he utilized his short stature to his advantage. Kind of like with Yoda, just because he's short doesn't mean that he can't utilize different set of skills to compensate, so he can put up a fight. And he got these little hench women, these geisha-like, women. They kind of whisper in a way. They're so creepy looking. And they got like little claw fingers. I don't know what they are. I don't want to know what they are. They add to Mystique. That's very fun. And of course, he has this kind of, connection with birds. And it's like, yeah, that adds to the Penguins. It's not just with penguins, it's just with birds in general. And it just, makes it all that much fun. We got Gina Gershon as Catwoman. I love this particular design of Catwoman so much. It's just like the big ears and the mask mixed with the goggles and the giant ears is like not too cartoonishly, but just big enough where it's not like with Matt Reeves' Batman version of Catwoman, where there's this little tiny little things where you can just enough get away with the fact that it's a Catwoman suit. But no, lean into it. That's what it's like. I want, when you do live action Batman stuff, especially when it comes to the movies, I want you to lean into the fact that it's a superhero world. Just because he's Batman, he deals with like, grounded crime half the time, doesn't mean the fact that you got these gimmicky characters. Lean into it. People will accept it. They read enough comic books enough times where it's like, why would they not buy the fact that, there's a woman in a literal cat suit and just leans into the theme. We got Clancy Brown as Mr. Freeze, and I very much like this Mr. Freeze. It's a different twist to it, just like with Man-Bat. It's like a different twist to what we are used to, where we have Peter Nicol as Peter Nicol, who voices Man-Bat, and unlike in many other interpretations where they got significant others like Mr. Freeze with Nora Freeze, and she's like, he's trying to cure her disease and everything like that. No, they kind of like stripped that away where he's just, well, no, they didn't totally strip it away. You see like he has like a picture of him and his woman. It's like a flashback, and you can tell that's obviously Nora Freeze, but she's never brought up. Kind of wish she was, but I guess they didn't want to like, they want to do their own spin on it. They don't want to have every time Mr. Freeze show up, we gotta be so tied to the hip with the whole Nora Freeze thing of it all, which is fine. I think that's a smart play, all in all. Where he's, pretty much like a jewel thief, more so just, like a diamond thief, essentially. But this, Mr. Freeze he doesn't have like a cold gun. This design where he's just got like a suit with like he freezes like the outward portion to cover his head, so he doesn't have like a literal glass dome. It's all like hardened ice, which is a cool design, so it can't easily be broken. And he shoots ice beams from his hands, so it's like he's not needing like an actual cold gun. I really love this design of Mr. Freeze. Very cool, and I love Clancy Brown. He's always amazing when it comes to voice acting. But Man-Bat, he usually has like a wife, and he always, seems like a good-natured person until like he is like turned into Man-Bat and is like more animalistic nature. But they decide to like, okay, nix the whole wife thing, and he's actually is kind of like obsessed with bats to the point where he wants to be a bat, and he's he's kind of kooky, so that's fine. We got Jason Marsden as Firefly. Love this Firefly. I love this design, where he's actually literally he is like a espionage guy for hire, where he sabotages. If a company hires him to sabotage, rival companies, that's what he's hired to do. And he doesn't lean in with because typically Firefly is like a pyromaniac. They took that part away, which I think is fine. He just seems like, he's not obsessed with fire. He has got like heat lasers or something like that. And his, he literally has like a, bug themed suit where he zips around in the air, and it is exactly like how a Firefly would, where it's more zigzaggy but fast. I love that design choice. It is very cool. And it's like, black and yellow look to it is, perfectly designed. More so like a bee than anything else, but it's perfectly fine. And he makes the whole, sound like a buzzing bug every time he zips through the air. I really like that. they put some thought into a lot of these characters. It's really, really good. We got Dan Castellaneta, Castellaneta as the ventriloquist Scarface. I like this version, but like many other interpretations of the ventriloquist Scarface, they never really rise up to the occasion. I think it does like a better job than most other interpretations I've seen of Scarface character, but still, it wasn't exactly like you don't do much. I'm still waiting on maybe some writer or somebody to come in and really like make Scarface like a real threat, because he's just not that too dissimilar to any other mob boss that Batman can easily beat. And I think Scarface, while some might argue he should be relegated to like a sub boss to the main boss of a villain, but given Scarface's attitude, he wouldn't, subjugate himself to being like a, second fiddle to like a main villain, unless you're dealing with somebody like Joker, who definitely has like a more alpha personality compared to almost any other villain besides maybe Bane. We got Glenn Shadix as Clue Master, which is like a different interpretation of Clue Master. It's like more of like an obese man in like a costume who was a jaded kid from this game show, completely different from the comics where he's more a well-built man who is like, I don't know, like, very good at coming up with plans. This one, it seems like more into games, which is like a way to, lean into, take the Clue Master character, because in the comics, who's like related to one of the, I'll call them the Batgirls, but when the female sidekicks to Batman, not Orphan, but Spoiler, that was the girl's name. Spoiler is the father of Spoiler in the comics, and Clue Master, because that's my first, I think technically this will be my first introduction to Clue Master, but it didn't register until much later during the New 52, when they utilized Clue Master and tie him in with Spoiler, who would later work with the Bat family. Because Clue Master, it just seems like a guy who is not up to the same tier level as somebody like the Riddler, but he's smart in his own right, but just doesn't have some kind of unique gimmick. He's just smart and comes up with certain plans, and I don't know. I looked it up in my ranking of Rogues Galleries. It just wasn't all that too impressive. This show really gives him some meat on his bones, no pun intended. We got Bane. His first introduction, amazing. Just like in the anime series, in his first appearance, he was voiced by Joaquim Del Almeida. But then second time you see him, he's voiced by Ron Perlman. And the third time, Clancy Brown took over. But his first introduction, his entire design and appearance his design in general was amazing. But his first introduction was just stellar. Right in the third episode, it was just like Batman, because he's, just like in the anime series, Bane is hired by some mobsters to deal with Batman, but Batman unprepared, and first dealing with Bane, because with that venom juice flowing through him, it just seems like a all black gimp suit until he rages out, and it's got like reddish skin. And I love the whole, it's not like tubes in his back or anything like that. It's just like all in his gauntlets, and he just twists the thing and you see this yellow ooze flowing through him, and it's just like he's just bulking up, and you actually see a bit of his face, and he just mollywops Batman until doing the breaking out the back, but not, breaking out the bat, but not actually breaking his back. It just, it just harkens to that, where Batman actually had to use like a mech suit in order to fight this dude for the first time. But later on, he doesn't really need to do that, so he knows, Bane's weaknesses and how to deal with them later on. So yeah, those are like the major players. But then because I remember when this was airing, they, I think they split, because I watched this on HBO Max, and they kind of put together into the first season all in one season, because they kind of half of the episodes when it was airing, it was like 13, because it did all feel very long with this show, but the streaming service kind of mashed up a lot of the episodes into the first season, which is fine, so I can just get all done in one go. So anyway, we got Ragdoll, voiced by Jeff Bennett. Robert Englund voices the Riddler. I love this design of the Riddler. I think because I love John Glover's, suit, Riddler suit kind of thing. But this version of the Riddler kind of takes like Jim Carrey's thing with the whole leotard and put a dark goth twist to it, which is, I think I really like it too. Because if it wasn't for Jim Carrey's Riddler, I would have loved this design of the Riddler a lot more than any other design. And his first introduction is amazing. I think all his episodes are amazing. You got Ron Perlman, who also voices Killer Croc. I love his take on Killer Croc in this show, where he literally comes from Louisiana Bayou, so he got that Cajun accent. I think this version of Killer Croc is actually my personal favorite. Where they didn't, of course, they lean into the fact that, or hint at the fact that he has some kind of a human with a mutated disease, skin disease or something like that. But it just like, no, he's just like a croc man, and he actually has some intelligence. He's not just all monster. We got Spellbinder, but a different interpretation of Spellbinder than what we saw from Batman Beyond. This one's more mystical rather than technological. Voiced by Michael Massey. We got Hugo Strange, initially voiced by Frank Gorshin, who was the original Riddler in the 1960s, but was replaced by Richard Green after Gorshin's death. My biggest complaints in this season, after eventually they show James Gordon at the tail end of the season, who is voiced by Mitch Pileggetti. Ellen Yin and Chief Rojas stopped showing up after season 1, which is a shame, because they were amazing characters in their own right. Now, it's not the fact that they just look. If you want to like move these characters out, that's fine. But they were just unceremoniously just not showing up, which is like a major fault. And I think a lot of people who watch this series all had that kind of questions, like what happened to Ellen Yin, especially because she was an amazing character and had an amazing arc out of this first season, and you just kind of like tossed her completely without giving like a solid explanation or like a good solid satisfying ending to this character, like because she comes from Metropolis and moved to Gotham City in order to partner up with Ethan Bennett in order to stop this Batman problem, because Batman is like in his like second or third year as being Batman. Uh, so a lot of people are still like, oh, he's a myth, you know, like, he's trouble. He brings all these crazies to this into Gotham City, things of that sort. So Batman's fighting like, not only running away from the cops, but also having to deal with the villains on top of all that. So he hasn't like, it gets satisfying when eventually he earns the respect of the cops down the line, until by the end when James Gordon comes into play, where it's fully like partnership kind of thing. But yeah, it's like, if it was me, I would have had at some point, because Detective Yin is a pretty good detective, and she would have eventually figured out that Bruce Wayne is Batman, tried to, spark up maybe a potential relationship, but being, married to the job as Batman, it wouldn't really work. And she decides to maybe move, or better yet, just like in Batman Year One, where Gordon had this fling with this woman when he had like a pregnant wife at home. You could have done something similar to that, where Yin and Gordon has some type of fling going on when clearly he has like a daughter. Well, no, it wouldn't work that way, because the wife is like, just gone. It doesn't really explain what happened to her. She just presumed dead, whatever. So it wouldn't really work that way. But do something where she has to just leave, maybe go back to Metropolis or something like that. So to give her a satisfying ending, as well as maybe have Rojas go first, where he's like, he just quits or something like that, because he just refused. He's butting heads with Gordon, where he not necessarily becomes a villain himself, but just like, or better yet, make him into like somebody like Lockup, if from the animated series. That interpretation of Lockup, where he just has like a grudge against, like he runs the police, like he runs it. He doesn't want to work with vigilantes. He want to just lock people up and stay locked up, and go after Batman because he blames him for like, having like, the police force turn against him or something like that, and then him getting locked up in Blackgate or something like that. Just give him like some kind of satisfying ending without just like up and just there's a no-show. Those are probably like my biggest issues in season 1, in all honesty. All right, so we're gonna get into like my favorite episodes, like Traction, where the first introduction of Bane, like I said, like the criminals kind of had it up to here with Batman's exploits and ruining their business and things like that. So they hire like somebody like Bane, who's like a mercenary, and then of course Bane just like first trounced Batman, and of course early on we are introduced with Ethan Bennett, who's best friends with Bruce Wayne. They grew up together and always like once a week play some basketball with each other. And man, he has an impressive arc, but I'll get to that in a little bit. But Ellen Yin is all in on capturing the Batman, even though, and she doesn't have any kind of hatred to Batman, because he acknowledges, which is cool. Unlike Rojas, she's like the mix between like Rojas and Bennett, where Bennett is like cool with the Batman because he realizes like there are crazy villains like the Joker and Penguin, and it's like we're not equipped to deal with, bad guys like this. This is not like crime bosses or petty thieves. These are like real life supervillains with crazy gimmicks and powers that we're not equipped to deal with. And Batman seems, able to stop these guys for us. And of course, Rojas is like, no, we are not dealing with vigilantes, and like we're dealing with put a stop to not only him, but he's crazy as well. If we're gonna do it, by using the badge and the law and blah blah blah, and like he's refused to understand and acknowledge that Batman is doing good, very bullheaded. But Yin understands that. Look, I get Batman, wants to do good and he is helping, but he still is a vigilante. And by definition, you're breaking the law, so I have to bring you in. She eventually comes around, but she and Ethan have a crazy arc, and it's probably one of the best arcs in this season, honestly. And I do not want to forget the intro to this show is so good, and it's like really gets you. It's like a different twist on, I like to say, on the animated series, but it's just like it's a little twingy kind of, I don't know, musical notes like that, like down, 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 down. I'm doing a horrible job of it, but you know the intro, like, and he's just the Batman, blah. So, and then just a bunch of bats just flying through like the darkness. It's like very cool. And just like comic books and Batman, his rogues gallery is like a mirror image of him. And each of these episodes, you get, when Bruce Wayne is struggling with these guys, you get a little bit of parallels to what they're going through and how it, mirrors what Bruce went through, but he took it to a positive way while they took it to the negative way. Like with like what's a good example? Like with Penguin, when Alfred mentions how one of his like I think his grandfather used to butler for one of Cobblepot's grandparents, and they treated him like like a slave, more of like a slave than like like the hired help, just with that low, like treating like very low class and almost very abusive in a way, like they're not people almost. And you see like a parallel between how Penguin is treating Alfred, and juxtaposed to how Bruce treats him, whereas it's like more like a father figure, a friend, a confidant, somebody he looks at with an air of respect, while the Cobblepot's mindset, not like that at all. He is like, oh, I'm fancy, I'm high class and everything like that. I don't need to treat that hired help like, people, whatever like that. It's just, you get those moments here with a lot of these villains, and I really like that. So, it doesn't have to spell it out for you. You can just infer it by watching these episodes. Very tight, episodes. Very rarely you get like, two-parters. I think those comes later. I love the introduction of Selina Kyle, and obviously, Batman or Bruce is kind of smitten with her, but she ended up snatching his utility belt, and it's like he looks like a noob at this, allowing a cab burglar a cat burglar to sneak off with his belt and try to use his like in the game, the remote back control, and utilizing that to like find his Yakuza mob boss and try to steal one of his trinkets and stuff like that. So Batman and Catwoman team up to stop these guys. They get arrested, but she doesn't make off with her little prize, but he makes sure she gives back his little thing. It's kind of fun. The introduction of Mr. Freeze is very good, where it's like early on in Batman's career, he's stopping this jewel thief, and it was like a horrific accident where they're in this kind of cryo freeze lab where it was electrical thing got pulled out and it mixed in one of the frozen containment units. While Victor is trying to fight off Batman, he slips, falls into these things, and he was electrocuted at the same time of being flash frozen. And now he's guilt tripping Batman, and it's like, you killed me, and it's all your fault, kind of thing. And thanks to Alfred, because Alfred really is like the GOAT in this, where he's like always, there for Bruce to snap him out of his funk. At the same time, trying to get him out into the world, get him to date, that kind of thing. So that way he doesn't let the whole Batman persona swallow him whole. Because you can see like Alfred want to make sure he has a life, because he can't just be him, because Alfred's not going to be there all forever. So he wants, somebody to look after Bruce at some point. He needs to start having a life, hopefully having like a family of his own, which technically he will do. But it's just something that Alfred wants to make sure that, Bruce has something like this, because his upbringing is mired in tragedy, and he doesn't want that to be his sole life. So it's really, really cool. But he helps Bruce come to grips with the fact that no, you're not to blame for what happened to Freeze, because he was hoisted by his own petard, where it's just like, he made his bed and he has to lie in it. And you actually see like a lot of cool Batman suits, like the Freeze suit, where he's just like, or anti-freeze suit, where it's all white so you can blend in with the snow, where you got these like fire guns where he just blasts out flamethrowers at Freeze to counteract his cold. I love the design. It's just like, watching a bunch of action figures being utilized in unique ways and not just trying to sell a product. It's just like, no, they utilize very well into the story. Same way with the Batbot, interwoven very perfectly into the story. And you get to see like, a bat glider thing. He has like, little bat wings to help glide through the air, or fly through the air in most cases, so he can go toe to toe with Firefly in Firefly's introduction. Although his Firefly suit is better equipped for flight than Batman's bat wings or bat jet or whatever, or rocket bat or whatever you want to call it. But at the same time, you get to see like the blending of Bruce Wayne's life with Batman's life interwoven very well here, where Bruce is like losing out on his like the support towards his orphanages and other like goodwills, and being looked over in favor of these other companies who doesn't have any issues or like morality dealing with business and whatever. And it turns out they're the ones that hire Firefly to sabotage other businesses. Don't know why the cops didn't pick up on that, because it kind of seems obvious. Even without Batman, it's like, well, you're doing well, and so happens your competition, you know, is not. So it's kind of like you look. It kind of feels obvious that the only one competitor is doing well. Nobody's gonna raise any questions. You shouldn't have. If it was me, if I was doing like corporate espionage, I'll hire Firefly to deal with like, okay, here's the main competition, but deal with these other people. Don't deal with them all. Just deal with, like, like, oh, this company's got like a rival with this other company, so deal with that person. And then this other company got a rival with this other company, deal with that person in Gotham, and then deal with my competition. So that way, if you get them all and you're the only top dog left, it kind of feels like weird that this villain comes after you. Or better yet, have Firefly deal with one of your like businesses that you don't really care about, but shows that, oh, I got attacked too, people. So it just seems like you're gonna look so obvious. Uh, uh, uh. Oh, here's a two-parter, like Rubber Face of comedy and Clayface of comedy. Now, this is where Ethan Bennett gets kidnapped by Joker after he has like this big fight. I won't call it a fight, but he gets really yelled at by Rojas and not appreciated with the work that he does do, and not because he's one of the biggest detectives there, but he's ignored or not appreciative, and like chewed out unnecessarily by Rojas. Where at later on, when he's trying to take down the Joker himself, uh, he gets kidnapped, hypnotized, or at least his mind messed around with a little bit by Joker, where Joker has this chemical that makes any solid surface into like a rubbery substance, so it can be malleable, so he can shoot the gunk at some statue and mess with the face, so he can turn everything into like a happy face. And while Batman and Yin save Bennett, Joker dropped his gooey gun, and the mist that rose from the chemicals, Ethan smelt it. And so now that they stopped Joker thanks to Batman, and this is around the time when Bruce was contemplating on letting his best friend know who he truly is, because he doesn't want to keep bumping heads with him as Batman, and one of them has to end up hurting one another. He doesn't want to do it to his friend, so he was so close to like want to tell him, until this tragedy happens, where now he has it out with Rojas in front of like TV cameras and everything like that. It's like, are you an idiot? Bruce, Batman saved our butts tonight. If it wasn't for him, I would have been dead right now. And of course, Rojas is like, he tells like, give me your badge and your gun. You're out of line. And he sends him home. And as soon as he gets home, he ends up turning into Clayface. This interpretation of Clayface. Now there will be the one of the well-known people who will be Clayface in the later season. We'll get to that eventually. But I like this because there's been like in the comics, there's been like at least 3 or 4 people who took up the mantle of Clayface, one of them being a woman. Ethan Bennett is the only one from this show, an original character, who also has the mantle of Clayface, but I think he deserves a spot as one of the right next to Basil Carlo uh, and Matt Hagen in terms of iconic Clayface individuals. His is a total tragedy. He looks up to Batman, and he doesn't want to hurt nobody, but this is starting with thanks to Joker, and this horrible tragedy is messing with his mind. Eventually, he got control of it, but now that Rojas is like, has like a no nonsense on freaks, and it's like take it down on sight kind of attitude. So now his fellow officers is like right away attacking him. So he goes after Rojas, and Batman deduced that this is, and of course, Yin as well deduced that, oh, this is Ethan. And so he concludes that, okay, where would Ethan go? So he goes to the basketball court at the rec center where, those two go to play basketball together, and find that, Ethan is holding Rojas hostage and about to take him out. And of course, Batman and Yin trying to convince him otherwise. Batman used like a frozen pellet to freeze part of Clayface. So he runs to the shower room, and thanks to Ellen, who convinces like Ethan, his better part of him, to stand down, he just decides to like slip away into the drains, and he won't show up until a few episodes later. Then Batman decides to leave one of his Batwave boxes to Yin to contact him whenever he needs to, whenever she needs to reach him for anything. And I forgot to mention about the Batwave. That is such an ingenious thing to have. I'm shocked they never incorporated that into multiple Batman types of things, like in the comics, or they just it's connected to a lot of like maybe like alarms or police radios or whatever. That's like a big emergency. Wherever Batman or Bruce is, like he like a basketball game or wherever, he gets like a Batwave alert, blint, 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 and it's like, oh, I got a dip. And he had like his Batmobile is amazing. I love his gear is amazing. I almost forgot to mention about that. It got this Tron-like look to him, where it's like all black with blue neon to them, and it's like, God, that is like his batarangs and his his grapnels. They all got this kind of on the edges, this neon blue tint to them. And it's like, God, it's like Batman was in Tron or something like that. It's like, God, that is like, I love that look. This is probably like my, in terms of favorite looks of the Batman tools, this one's probably my favorite. It's up there being my favorite because the unique look to them, where it's the neon design to them, it's like, really makes them pop, especially where it's like in the dark and everything like that. It really makes them all pop. But I love the use of the Batmobile, where it's like no matter where Bruce is, he can call the Batmobile and it goes out of the Batcave and goes to like a few tunnels. It's like a few tunnels it can go through, and it comes out like out of like an abandoned garage through this seemingly abandoned truck, but it lifts up the side and it connects to this tunnel system. Like wherever is is nearest to him, that's where it comes out and drives to him. So that way it's like, it doesn't take forever for the Batmobile to get to you. Mir Punhan, thanks for the follow, man. So yeah, it's just like God, it's so ingenious. Uh, really, really fun. But yeah, like the Batwave is uh Maya Zena remix. Uh, I don't do that here. I'm not sure if that's a song or anything like that, but I don't do that here because with the copyrights and stuff like that. Sorry. Uh, so anyway, Ethan's arc is just like tragic, man. I feel so bad for that character, and now Bruce and Yin gets a lot closer just uh by association with Ethan. There's their like go between. Uh, what's next? My favorite, probably my most favorite episode out of the entire series is the first introduction of the Riddler, and as I mentioned many times before, the Riddler's one of my favorite villains of all time, and this is where like you see Batman and Yin work together for the first time, and uh, we get this what's it, City Hall where uh uh yes, Gotham City Hall, where a seemingly explosive device was located in Gotham City Hall, and Yin was the first one on scene with Batman, but there's like a camera that looks and Batman goes off to the shadows to listen in, so it leaves these crap. I should have wrote down what the riddles are. But one of them is like everything in me is ancient, and obviously meaning a museum, which is like a clue to another area. It's pretty much like a wild goose chase that Riddler is sending Detective Yin on before he realized, oh, Batman's been helping her out this entire time, and it's just fun. It's like utilize Batman's detective skills, and of course, Yin solves like a couple herself, uh, but it's just like in the Gotham TV show where before Bruce became obviously Batman, he's still like a young kid. You see like somebody like Gordon solve a couple. We see like uh crap. Oh crap. Lucius Fox, because he's very smart. He solves a couple of the Riddler's things because like it takes a level of intelligence to figure out certain riddles. Uh so it's always fun to see other people try to solve, who are relatively smart in their own right to solve Riddler's little puzzles. But Batman is part of the superior one that always seems to beat out the Riddler. And once captured, he's trying to. Batman realized that this has all been like a one long wild goose chase because Riddler's been leading the police away from City Hall because he's literally was there underneath it with his cronies. I love his little henchmen. They all seem like geeks wearing like green garb with goggles. And they, robbing the information, the city's, specs and, certain codes that you can easily download and gain access to whatever he wants. Knowledge is power to him. And that's where Batman deduced that, oh, he's right with the last place we would think to look, which would have been the first place we were at. But then he really wants to know like who is the Batman. He's trying to like play 20 questions with him. But thanks to Yin, they stopped the Riddler. But that was a fun episode. One of my favorite ones. Then like another episode where Mr. Freeze teams up with Firefly, which is obvious, fire and ice. Obviously, they don't mix, literally, and Freeze really wants to take over by freezing the entire city, trying to hack into use a cryogenic weapon to take control over like the heating system, and is the first time when the police actually acknowledge, and the community itself acknowledge, Batman is there for them for good and not for ill. When he stopped Freeze and Firefly, delivered them safely to the police, and everybody just applauded while Rojas just sit there stewing in his like meh, just stewing in it, knowing that he can't do nothing about it because it's like not good PR move. It's just like an amazing episode in itself, and to see like why would Firefly team with somebody like Freeze, knowing like you not hip to the fact that this guy is only in it for himself. Like, what's in it for you if everything is just frozen and you're all about heat kind of thing? I don't know. But then again, you got like Captain Cold often teaming up with Heat Wave in Central City dealing with the Flash. So I'm not saying it's not possible, but for these two particular characters, it wouldn't make better sense for Mr. Freeze teaming up with Captain Cold and Firefly teaming up with Heat Wave, because they obviously have the kind of same motif or MO. We got Swamp, where you get a first introduction to Killer Croc, and that one's pretty fun, where he's just trying to flood the financial district so that way he can and his cronies could easily rob the several banks there. But thanks to another cool suit that Batman wore, where it's like more of a the Batman swimwear kind of thing, like scuba suit, whatever, where he can actually properly deal with Killer Croc on his own turf, so he doesn't feel so disadvantaged. So very cool. Bennett shows back up again in Meltdown, trying to kill Joker in his own cell, but while Batman stopped Clayface, Joker managed to get away. But a few months later, after the Wayne Industries run some tests on Bennett, they realize, okay, he can remain stable mentally and physically as long as he doesn't utilize his powers. So under the circumstances of what happened with the Joker, they can understand, okay, he might not have been in all of his faculties, so he's on probation. Bruce offers him like a job at, one of his art buildings that he owns, and he's like head of security there. And of course, it's like Riddler's Reform or Penguin's Reform in the animated series, where they're trying to turn over the new leaf, but people always seem to like, mess with them without giving them like an extra, grace. Like the other security guards like seem jealous or weary of him because, he's a supervillain, but he's best friends with like a billionaire. You must, feel lucky and blah, blah, blah. But then every time Joker shows up to steal something, Bennett just he wants to get back in the action again. But then he looks like he still wants his revenge on Joker. But then, thanks to Joker manipulating him again, where it's like crime pays better. So when Batman and Yin show up, they see, Ethan. It's like, being Ethan Bennett is hard, but being Clayface, that part's easy. He's completely like lost his sense of morality throughout this entire ordeal he's been on, and he's like, you know what? I'm done being Ethan Bennett. He's like, I'm not being appreciated. It's like, like working at this job, like, I can't really be myself. It's like, I'm not normal anymore. All this stuff. And it's like, say goodbye. This is your last chance. This is your last moment to see the face of Ethan Bennett, because, uh, you know, I'm Clayface now, and Yin holding like one of Batman's freeze pellets. It's like, well, thanks for making this a lot easier. She tossed that thing, and he wasn't expected from her, and he just says like, I guess you have finally found a new partner now, huh? And then he's like, Ethan's back in prison now in Arkham, as a matter of fact, and Bruce and Ellen is just like looking on in sorrow at their friend now just fully corrupted, hoping that one day they'll get him back. It's just like a sad ending, or a sad arc to this particular character that didn't deserve any of that stuff. We get the introduction of Hugo Strange and Strange Minds, where Joker kidnaps Ellen Yin, very reminiscent to The Dark Knight, where he captures like Rachel and Harvey kind of thing, and Batman has to figure out where he stashed them. But Hugo Strange somehow got, not somehow, is hinted at, Bruce Wayne's tech company helped make the prototype to the machine that Hugo Strange wants to use in order to get inside these criminal the criminal psychopaths' minds, in order to really figure out why they are what they are and why they do what they do, things of that nature. And we all know Hugo Strange will eventually become a bad guy. I don't know why we need to placate to that. But he gets inside of Joker's mind, and Bruce at the Batcave use his prototype in order to piggyback off of the wavelength that Hugo Strange is using. It's very comic booky type of technology, but you go with it. So Strange isn't too concerned about trying to figure out where Yin is at. As a matter of fact, Joker inside his own head, where it's just Gotham, but with just the civilians are all just Jokerized. And even Joker points out, he didn't even ask about Detective Yin. What's up with that? It's like even Joker had to point that out. It's like, this dude's, obviously not too concerned or empathetic to other people at all. But we get Batman showing up inside Joker's mind and seeing in his subconscious, deep in his subconscious, the person who was, I was gonna go with Jack Napier, because that would have been his, like, canonized real name before you turn into the Joker. And you get a cool to see like a normal, what Joker looked like before the, chemical bath. And it's his only good part of him that's still deep down in the Joker. And he points out where, like, you go to current schemes, that's where you'll find her. Of course, he gets in trouble with the Joker, and he gets like captured. But Batman ends up finding out where Yin is by tricking Joker into thinking like he's back in the real world. It kind of reminds me of, if you remember that, don't know if you ever watched this film, but Denzel Washington movie called Virtuosity, co-starring with Russell Crowe, where Russell Crowe plays this kind of psychopathic cyber villain, where in order, because he ends up kidnapping a friend and daughter of Denzel Washington's character and tricking him thinking he's back in the real world and getting him to confess where he keeps the people at. And it's like, and that's where Batman did. He tricks the Joker into revealing where Yin is. So now he's back. He gets out of the virtual, at least out of Joker's mind, goes to the opera house where he first showed up in the episode and saves Yin. And the season ends with Riddler, Joker, and Penguin all running a game to see who can capture and unmask the Batman, and the winner gets control over all of Gotham. So this is where you get, Gordon showing up fully, and Yin get busted the fact that she's been teaming up with a vigilante this whole time. So Batman saves her from the cops, and they both team up to stop Joker, Riddler, and the Penguin. Fun battle, like a three-way battle. And Yin helping out Batman because Riddler early on controls some mechanism to highlight lights in the city to make a green question marks everywhere. Now she took over and put up the bat signal everywhere, which inspires Gordon to make the bat signal for the first time in this show. So once he stops all three villains, Gordon signals to Batman, who wants to work with Batman in order to make the city safe for his daughter. And that's where the season ends. Very good show. It gets better, but the last season, there's several people who have complaints about the final season, but we'll get to that soon. I don't really have much issue with it, but it's been a while, so once I get to it, maybe I have a change of opinion. But that is my overall thoughts with the first season of 2004's The Batman. And I'll be getting right into the second season and giving my overall thoughts about that. But in any rate, stay tuned. In a few minutes, I will be covering my thoughts on my review of Batman Ninja, the animated film. So look out for that. And I haven't figured out what my next movie review will be after that one. Don't know. I'll figure it out. But in any rate, matter of fact, now I'm thinking about it, since I spoke on it and I really want to talk about it for the longest time, might as well put Virtuosity on the list, because that's my first introduction to not only Russell Crowe but Denzel Washington. When I was a little kid, that was my first introduction to those two particular actors. So I might as well put that on the list as the next movie I wanted to review. Trying to, at least give like comic book themed movies a break for a minute. But anyway, I will see you guys in a little bit. Let me know in the comments below what you think of the Batman series, and even especially the first season, and what was your favorite characters, and what was your favorite thing about the entire series, and what you dislike most from the season. And I'll see you guys in a minute. Take care.